Hello everyone, my name is Winged Supernova and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the last episode, we got reinstated as a lawyer after the events from the last game. Of course, the first two cases didn't have anything to do with the present in Great Britain, but now the Great Exhibition has started and we find ourselves having to defend a contemporary of this man right here, Lord Van Zieks. And we came into his office and we started conversing with him and his odd apprentice down here. Maybe we will talk to him, but first we're just gonna, go around and examine his office, because I'm sure there's quite a lot of funny dialogue around here. He's gonna be like, don't touch that, don't touch that, don't touch that, don't touch that, the entire fucking time. So, here we go. Look at that fine collection of hollowed chalices and bottles lined up neatly there. My hollowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world. He seems to throw them around willy-nilly, though. Yeah! And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless. Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh! Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile. It's the fucking Eric Andre meme where he shoots the fucking guy and is like, I wonder who did this. That's pretty much what that was. So, it's my fault. Silly me. How could I have ever thought otherwise? Chess. Lord Van Zieks' desk. Look, it's so stylish. And that's a marble chess set beside it. Oh my god, I'm already losing my mind. I've literally only been recording for like an hour. What the fuck is wrong with me? Chess. That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? I'm actually quite good at shogi problems. Oh, really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case. I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zieks sometime. To a bout of shogi problems. Not chess, because I think I'll lose. If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home. Nothing else there. Can't look at that stuff. Let's look at this stuff. Ooh, look! It's a scale model of the Great Exhibition showground. Oh, I wonder what that is. We don't know about the stuff on the right end table. That's amazing. I wonder why it's here. Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person? Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid. Jokes are his weakness. I love it. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved. I really didn't think he'd overhear that. Yeah, we don't know about that part. That's interesting. This giant portrait back here of someone that we can't see their face. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? Oh, it is Van Zieks, okay. Well, maybe. We think it's Van Zieks. He's got the brooch that he wears as a prosecutor, of course. It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zieks' facial features. Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think. Ah, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him. How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it? That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. I thought so. Because he doesn't have the scar on his face, but maybe he got that after the portrait was done. So, who knows? Oh, then who is it? And he doesn't want to answer. Alright. I guess we'll learn about that later. No, Batman. He really is Dracula. Ah! What the fuck? Ah! They were bats! Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect. But what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. Just not the flying kind. He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then. I think the familiar idea is more likely. Wow! Scary, though. Either way. It's more likely for him to have a magical partner than to have a friend. That's fucked. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there. Casks in the Reaper's chamber. Or are they caskets? You don't think. All those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you? What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for clearing that up. Renaud and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper. I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot. It really looks like a punishment to me. I've never seen someone sitting like that before. He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. He is sitting sort of Japanese style, isn't he? That's a little interesting. Maybe he has connection to the Asogi clan? Maybe that's Kazuma's mission was about this guy? Seems connected. Do you think perhaps he's dead? If he was dead, Renaud, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he? Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us. He's not dead! Well, I guess he won't talk to us, though. I guess we present this to you. Lord Van Zieks, about the article in this paper. Ah, yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? Alright, I guess we are getting more about him. He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor, so you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Renaud. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. So I take it he trusts Lord Strongheart then. Oh? Hello? Ah! The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Take it he doesn't speak much either. Interesting. Nice to meet you? Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed. And yet... Somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Ooh, interesting. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? So that leads more credence to the theory that he is Japanese of some sort, because not only has Ryunosuke said that he has seen him before, it didn't feel like it was their first encounter, but he's being forbid from speaking, which means that he has some sort of an accent, right? And his face is hidden, which means that, he probably looks Japanese, doesn't look English. So, it's someone from over there. Not sure who, though. Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Ah, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh? What's that? That Nipponese man, is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago, with the soup, and the mustache, and the jitters. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Harebrain. Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Well then. I guess it's time to move. And we can't go anywhere else, so I guess we'll go back to the prison and, talk with you about the Reaper's varsity years. I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days.
Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science.
What was he like back then?
A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and an all-around nice fellow, really.
Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor Barak Van Zieks. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zieks family, with all its great aristocratic origins.
I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. Little darling.
It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learnt about what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yes, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
Ah! I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. I suppose that's true. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct?
As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please!
When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. All right, Runo. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition.
Sorry?
Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it?
Oh, I have an alarm for Ring Fit set at 10:30. I forgot I still do that. You can tell how long it's been since I actually used Ring Fit last time. Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Yay, the investigation started and gone on for an hour and 15 minutes, and we finally get to investigate. Alright. To the experimentation stage. Ugh, the showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I've felt myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times, too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. That's cute. We finally made it through the thrones, though, by the look of it. Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. Wow. It looks like it crashed straight through the Crystal Tower, so we're probably going to have to investigate the inside of the Crystal Tower too, won't we? Hello? What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. Drama alert! Ah! Guess who? Guess fucking who? Right, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you. I'll arrest you in a minute.
Oh yeah? Go on then, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it.
Wait, I know those voices. You've got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the cells will teach you some manners.
Just try it, I dare you. If you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Gregsy! What are you doing up there?
Came down lickety-split, didn't he? Ah! Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! You! Here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship! Does that make her 3 times a lady? That's a dumb joke and you know it.
I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. But I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue.
Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson. So, can you stop doing that animation, please? Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch it, sunshine! Sorry. What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for the defense.
So we're here to investigate.
Dear me, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling?
A measly 5 bob. Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You could stand to carry a bit more copper around in your pockets, Mr. Naruto.
What?
Hey! That's my last bit of spending money, that is! You can have it back, but I'll have it to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob.
I'll have to charge you. Okay. This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court.
What's your problem, eh, Otto? Diver? Pickpocket? What's with all the name-calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. Or were you were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Otto. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you'll have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now.
Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls it that. But what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us.
What's that supposed to mean?
Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold down the fort here, all right?
Right, sir.
This raises a lot of questions. Well, good thing we got a whole fucking episode to talk about it. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina in connection with the case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder.
I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Jenny. Well done.
So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective?
You got it. Good, innit? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh?
Talk about a sea change.
And then there's Iris's old man to think about.
Iris's father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him.
Just a small promise then. Nothing serious.
Oh, Jenny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how come I had a go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I?
Just a small problem. Nothing serious.
And that's when Hurley approached Gregsy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Jenny and made her sort of a princess.
That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave.
Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
That's less interesting. The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So, the long and short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there?
Ooh, what, Reno, what?
Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, or whatever it's called. Cool. You don't have to worry, Otto.
I didn't half worry. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. It's like I told you before, isn't it? The Reaper's kinda like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly, so I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. I still want to just wrap you in bubble wrap to make certain. Cool. It was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine, and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet. Sorry? You mean you saw it, Jenny? With your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything running smooth, I mean. I said smooth. Why did I do that? The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's going to take some getting used to. So all I have to say is that I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this! I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No! You're so lucky, Jenny! Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it! You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'd have no trouble at all. Then it's settled. When do I start? No, you can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way. It was? How can it have been? Successful experiment? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call this experiment a success. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke in that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there. What? In the tower? You can see it for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Oh, where all the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with. It really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard. Are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had three bob of you before. Off you before, so fair's fair. Yes, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway, investigating is off the cards for all of us. Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call them again? The Forensic Investigation Team, I think. Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, ain't it? So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yes, I've never heard something like that before. I thought I could have a gander on the quiet, though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard him giving me an earful about it from down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair. I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it. Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Otto. Go on, see if you can get through to him. He's up on the platform above us, isn't he? Where the machine that exploded is. We can try, can't we, Bruno? Gregsy will listen to us. I'm not so sure about it this time. But If we can't examine things down, or if we can't examine the machine up there, we can still examine some things down here, can't we? Like this.
Ah, it looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree just here.
Dropped or hid? Kind of looks like a crossbow. It's a little weird, isn't it? What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded?
Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps.
What's going on here? Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this just in case. It wouldn't be a Ace Attorney game if we weren't hiding things from our friends. For some reason, the ground is damaged in this spot. Look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something.
Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers, too.
Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been. I don't know why that sentence seems like it's written weird to me.
I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Runo.
Yeah, I think they probably would have ran in terror. And then we got a green scrap of burnt cloth. Oh, look, what's
this? A ripped piece of cloth.
It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable.
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Jenny's mid-yawn.
And then I guess we'll check the sign. Oh no, we're just checking the platform itself. This platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. It's very high up.
About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what the policeman I just spoke to said.
I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan.
Oh, yes, sorry. It's about 9 meters. But soon you'll have been in London a year, Runo. It's time you got used to our measurements.
I'm pretty sure... I don't remember the UK using feet. Maybe they did back in this day. Because I know they use kilometers, which if they use kilometers, they would have to use meters, right? I don't know. It's a little odd. Maybe that's a translation thing. Yes, well, this thing is so tall, the spectators at the front would just have seen a wall and nothing else.
They probably thought they'd secured the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed.
There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here. Yeah, there's probably a fair amount of those. The Crystal Tower, I guess. The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan.
There are lots of exhibits inside the towers as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors.
Wow. Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
And thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut.
Suddenly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower.
Apparently, everyone's taking to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in a balloon now.
Londoners must be very patient people. Nah, it's just Amusement Park 101. Oh, I can check this part up here. That's where the
Cove ended up after his instant kinesis or whatever they call it. Dead, of course.
And yet they're calling the experiment a success?
What's the wooden scaffold here for? The coppers, our lads, set that up after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Dunno, really.
Didn't you help to erect the scaffold then? Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? I don't think so. It was either like the explosion rocketed him across and through there, or something else. What was that I could look at? Can I look at the balloon? I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, but what are those funny round blobs floating in the sky? No. Oh, they're flying the balloons I've been talking. They're the flying balloons I've been talking about. I want to go up in one so much. I've read about situations like this in a magazine about strange phenomena. Creatures from outer space coming around flying objects to attack Earth. What? I suppose inhabitants of other planets are bound to be interested in the great exhibition. This is it, Iris. It's happening. It's not. Don't worry. I'll explain it all to you later over a nice cup of tea, Bruno. That's funny. Boy. Good old Mr. Nara Odo. These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. I guess we are. Oh, I see one of the... Okay, so I already noticed something. One of the things that I made a note of that said I thought it looked like a gun cylinder for like a grenade launcher or something. One of those is missing because there were 4 of them. I've already noticed something, which is interesting. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up. Oh, well there it is. It's down on the ground right there. I just now saw it. Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion, and I've seen my fair share. You've seen things like this before, you mean? Of course. Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. Ah, that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. One time, he made something that exploded with such force, it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Bruno. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate. Well, it's time to get stopped from investigating. Ah, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Really? He just looks confused to me. Well, I can't converse with him, so I'm just gonna, slowly mess with these things. It ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it? Magnificently and mercilessly. So someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air. Yes, beamed. Not blasted. That's the point. Yes, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris? Oh, Bruno, I'm just a child. How should I know? A child when it suits you, you mean? From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this... Stop! Don't touch that! Ah, that was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over just now, Gregsy. Please, your ladyship, I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here. So sorry. You can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it. That was quick. Oh, wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful. It's like old times, this is. We're representing Professor Harebrain in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ha! Listen, Sunshine, even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. It's driving me potty. Oh, yes, that special dispensation. The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we?
Eh?
Surely that's all right, isn't it, Gregsy?
Uh-oh. Course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship. But please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Runo?
She really knows how to get what she wants. Yep, she takes after Hurley. Power of persuasion. So what's this? Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrained was lucky to escape unscathed, I think. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think. Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, you hear? I won't touch a thing, I promise. So please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims? He asks, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, Sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules! Oh, look at the base of the machine there. Oh, look at the base of the machine. I thought he was continuing, but nope.
Oh, yes, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think.
Oh, it's a screwdriver, I think. Doing the wrong voice again.
Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle is in the shape of a capital letter A.
It is? Oh, yes, you're right. What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said! Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, I said. Yes, I understand. Sorry. I only touched it a teeny weeny bit.
But Gregsy, I'm very curious about this screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course, your ladyship. You're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it.
But Runo found it first.
I assure you we'll investigate it thoroughly. He's gone off with it.
That was very mean, I'm afraid. Inspector Gregson is going to make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now.
Poor Gregsy. Yo, he's not here though. Let's fucking go. Oh, I can look up this thing. That amazing horn-shaped device is pointing towards the Crystal Tower. I suppose once people are disassembled by the machine, they're shot out of that thing to wherever they're going.
I don't think it was supposed to shoot anything, Runo. It was set up to beam people to the Crystal Tower where they'd be reconstructed in their original form.
Well, I don't like the look of it. If it was as amazing as it looks, the accident wouldn't have happened in the first place, of course.
I suppose that's true, yes.
But nothing ever goes according to plan, does it? Suppose not. So those are people carrying balloons dangling silently in the skies of London. I always thought the day would come when humans would discover how to fly, but I never imagined it would involve them being suspended from colorful floating Tamari handballs. Oh, you're right, they do kind of look like the Tamari handballs that kids play with in Japan. And the only reason that I know what the fuck those are is because I watched Demon Slayer.
I'm sure it must feel amazing being up there among the clouds. Let's take a ride together, Runo, please?
If I'm being perfectly honest, I would like to try it, but without a cast iron guarantee that the thing that won't plummet to the ground, I'm too scared. Oh well, in that case, I should tell you what Hurley said. It's physically impossible for a flying balloon to plummet to the ground as long as it doesn't explode. Yes, call me crazy, but I think that exploding part might play on my mind a little. Hey, but at least you won't die from the fall. You'll die from the explosion, right? I guess we go back down now. Oh, we're checking the buildings, I guess. There are all sorts of strange buildings here in the Great Exhibition Grounds, aren't there? I seem to remember something similar being exhibited in Japan one time. Oh, in your country, Runo? I do wish I could go and see it. I'd present a particularly steely samurai with a present of one of Hurley's stories I'd written especially. That's a reference. And see if I couldn't get Hurley into a jam against some Bartitsu Master Ninjas. I've not heard that first word before. You might not find as many of those sorts of people around as you think. Oh, well that's dull. Ooh, but I do know a prosecutor with a Chonmage topknot I could introduce you to. A Chonmage? Really? You think I could have my picture taken with him? Do you? I wouldn't be treasuring that. Assuming he's recovered from the trim Kazuma gave him a year ago, yes. It's been a year, I think he's probably fine, right? I don't know what we do now. Oh, he's back. I guess we converse with you. Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True, it was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean. The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odd spot of public safety infringements. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see? Yes, I suppose that's true, in a way. So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on the scientists' rights at the moment. What sort of rights? They're making it so that any theories the brains have remain in their legal property, as it were. Right through developing it to a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new Highfalutin Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Ah, I see now. The only people with permission to investigate here... Oh, the only people with permission to investigate here are from some brand new department at the Yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, it's called. We've been relegated to keeping guard. The Forensic Investigation Team. I had to yawn for a second. Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we ain't do a flaming thing with it. Poor Grexy. He's very head up, isn't he? I suppose he is. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here? Am I supposed to say this again? Are you having me at it, Sunshine? It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Yes, I think Hurley mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eye as I remember. I'm sure he did, your ladyship, I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it gets rubber-stamped, that's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality. What does that really mean? Oh, I need to turn that off. My apologies. Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by some shammers like yourself. Thanks for that. Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun. It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these Shammers bogus contraptions.
But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Yeah, well, there is a point, sadly.
Sorry?
Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientist gets funding.
Exactly, and that's what they're all after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science! Hang it!
Oh, maybe I can see your point.
It's a bit odd. I think he's just, a little bit angry at his own position, more than anything, though. Apparently, Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research. That's right. Came back to Britain especially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants. Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. It turns out he was at university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zieks. What's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zieks mans the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is... sealed, because the Reaper will get him one way or another. Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zieks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh, yes, but Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, how long's that business gonna keep up, I wonder? I don't know. We haven't figured out who's, the vigilante sort of claiming the lives of those that are guilty, that get acquitted. The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Asman, he was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard. Lord Beric Van Zieks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it? Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zieks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court. Although the man himself denies that charge. Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zieks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would. But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't have just coincidentally died if nobody killed them. I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery, after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper. Professor Harebrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zieks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. You what? He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Ah, avoiding the topic, are we? I see. And Iris notices too. Right. Are you done here, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather, it is about time you were leaving. That lot are here now. That lot? That lot? The forensic investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute, too.
Oh dear, poor Gregsy. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up.
He just drinks it immediately. It's got a pain in my ankle. Ow, what the hell? That is weird. I wasn't bending it in any way, shape, or form either. It was just a throbbing pain. That hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time. Well, at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. It looks like this is as far as we're going to get with our investigations here, at least.
I've been thinking... Hurley might know something, mightn't he?
About what?
About Mr. Reaper.
About what happened to Lord Van Zeeks, you mean? Well, he's the one that's been fucking hiding most of the stuff from us. So I doubt we're going to learn anything there. Because it sounds like something very significant occurred right after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he?
Here, this is what you need.
What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tuss Spells? Isn't this supposed to mean... Is this supposed to mean something to me?
You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like.
No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow.
But that's where Hurley is.
What? At this popular London attraction?
Yes.
How is it that you know where he is?
Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo.
Madame Tuspels. I don't see how it could be related to the case. We're here. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then... stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. Well, I guess that's where we're going next, but we're pretty close to the end. The end. We're pretty close to the hour mark, so we're going to leave this for next time so that we don't, record for way too long. So yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. We learned quite a bit. And we got to see Gina again. Yes! Yes! Oh boy. And there's a lot of mysteries piling up. A lot of overarching mysteries at that are going to, I don't think they're going to be answered in this case, but they're definitely going to be answered by the end of the game. And it's ramping up. The game is ramping up. More locations, more investigating, more cases. Well, more trials, not really more cases, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm sure that the end of the investigation, at least the first investigation, is probably soon as well, maybe even right after we go see Herlock. So that's going to be it for now, and thank you guys for watching. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next part. Bye bye.